You're listening to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM. During the next hour, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning, and welcome to Mission Matters Live, a program focused on promoting a spirit of mission among the people of God in the Archdiocese of Chicago. My name is Megan Mio. I'm coordinator in the mission office, and our engineers this morning are Brian, Javier, and Mike. You're listening to WNDZ 750 AM, and this month we are pleased to be broadcasting on the third Thursday of the month from 8 to 9 a.m. This morning, we are blessed to have with us Georgia Winson, who is the President and Executive Director for Hospital Sisters Mission Outreach. This is a medical surplus recovery organization that collects, repairs, packages, and distributes medical supplies and equipment to hospitals and clinics around the world. Georgia and her staff work in their main office located in Springfield, Illinois. I'm sure they normally do when there isn't a pandemic, work in their office. And she's joining us by phone this morning. So good morning and welcome, Georgia.
Good morning, Megan. It's great to be here with you and your listeners.
Thank you very much. So on today's show, I'd like us to reflect on the reality of global mission in this pandemic 1 year in, or more than a year, really, for those of us in the U.S., is a real and urgent need for medical supplies and vaccines to save lives around the world. So today, we're going to talk with Georgia and a few other guests who will join us a little later about the important work of equipping for COVID relief in the context of our Catholic social teaching. And we'll discuss the specific project that Mission Outreach is working with Catholic hospitals in Southeast Nigeria. We'll get to that in more detail a little bit later on. So this particular project just being one example of how we can respond to the current needs for effective and compassionate healthcare. So let's get started. Georgia, at the top I introduced you as the President and Executive Director of Hospital Sisters Mission Outreach. And according to the website, quote, Mission Outreach secures usable medical supplies and equipment from over 115 hospitals and 18 clinics in Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Kansas, and Missouri. And with more than $80 million in life-saving supplies sent, Mission Outreach has made a global impact. That's very impressive. So tell us about the work of Mission Outreach.
Well, that was a great recap, Megan, of the work that we do. And I will say, Mission Outreach is kind of where mission hits the road. The rubber hits the road with Mission Outreach. We have a trucking division that transports usable supplies and equipment from hospital and manufacturer donors to our warehouse. And everything is packaged, sorted, and provided to recipients around the world. And it's provided through a pull inventory system. So all of our recipients around the world are able to select exactly what they need for their hospitals. We worked in 95 different countries with 530 mission organizations, and we've sent about $85 million in medical supplies and equipment thus far. We began in about 2002. Our productivity tracking is probably from about 2006. So we have made a significant impact. And our work is really solidly grounded in the ideas about solidarity, ideas about caring for one another, and caring for the earth that we inhabit. The other thing about mission outreach is we reduce landfill deposits by about 1 million pounds per year.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
Wow.
we're really blessed to be able to do this, and we feel like our program really unites people around the world in a common activity to make the world a better place.
Yeah. So I mean, the equipment and the supplies that you're sending, these are all things that would have they're used. They have been used here in the U.S. or somehow have become obsolete in some way, and so but it still could be used somewhere else. It could be very valuable to a medical system in another part of the world, right?
Yes.
Better than to just throw it away, to put it to use.
Yeah. And Mission Outreach, we're part of a growing number of organizations like ours that are accredited. We're accredited through the MedSurplus Alliance at the Task Force for Global Health at Emory. And that's really important because it speaks to the quality of the donations we provide. Every piece of equipment that we have is assessed by our master's level biomedical engineer. And then he actually works with people in low-resource countries to make sure that the equipment we send is going to work in their context, to make sure that they have everything they need to get that equipment working and to keep it working.
Okay.
So that's kind of another piece of what we do. The supplies that we send are not used, and they're not expired. But our U.S. system is our U.S. system results in some unavoidable waste. And so what we're able to do is capture those really good supplies and make them available to people.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying about like these things are reviewed. They are, they're safe. They're things that you're not just, sending things willy-nilly, right? That you said accredited. And I was going to ask, are there other organizations like this? Because, just based on what the website said, you're working in the Midwest. There's probably organizations that work in different parts of the country, right?
Yes, we have, other organizations that are part of our accreditation group. Some in one in Atlanta, Georgia, one that's with the Cleveland Clinic. We have some out on the West Coast, some in Texas, in Kentucky. It's probably the one that's closest to us as part of our accreditation group. Yeah. So there are other organizations like ours, and it's really great to be working in concert with them because we can help each other, especially in a situation like this with COVID. There are opportunities for us to share inventory across organizations.
Yeah, I have so many questions. We only have so much time, but I wanted to say, you mentioned care for the earth, and the name is Hospital Sisters Mission Outreach. So are you is this organization a ministry of the Hospital Sisters, or what's that relationship?
Yes. So we were founded by the Hospital Sisters of St. Francis, and the Hospital Sisters run a health system in Illinois and Wisconsin, Hospital Sisters Health System, and we were one of their newer ministries developed in 2002. We recently have undergone somewhat of a transition because of the sisters, just kind of the evolution of their congregation. The sisters have asked that Mission Outreach now come under the auspices of the health system. And they have a PJP set up for the health system, and so we're a part of that. But one thing that's really important to note is Mission Outreach is our own separate 501c3, and we are really a network. So we work with Hospital Sisters Health System, but we work with a myriad of health systems, around the Midwest who contribute product to us and also contribute to our financial stability. So really, it's a very much of a network approach, working with multiple health systems, working with volunteers, and also working with a network of providers in other countries. Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting feature of how we operate.
Yeah. Network for sure. And I can see you would need some funding because while the supplies aren't necessarily quote unquote costing you, but they are because they need to be assessed, they need to be cleaned, they need to be all that, and then shipped. I mean, the shipping alone, we've learned in the mission office, it's outrageous. And then you're talking about larger tools and things. So, but I also wanted to ask about your role. Tell us about what your work has been and how you came to this work.
Well, I love that question because for me, it kind of brought a couple of themes into perspective for me. So my training is in psychology, and I worked at SIU School of Medicine in the psychiatry department, both as a therapist and as a trainer, a psychotherapy trainer. And a lot of my work focused around family systems theory. So I've always been fascinated with how people interact within a system. I was called upon in the course of my work at SIU then to take a leadership role in the autism program of Illinois. And that program is essentially a network of providers across the state who are working towards common goals and working according to some common principles to provide services to families and children with autism. So again, that idea of interacting as a network and what can be done through a collective approach. And then also I worked with the Coleman Foundation in Chicago to establish Intersect for Ability, which is a program that is uniting some major developmental disabilities organizations in Chicago, all with the idea of incentivizing collective action. And so, this idea of network, I think, is why the sisters hired me. We are a network, and, we really work very hard to act as one. So we are a conduit of information between our hospital partners in places like Nigeria and our hospital partners here in the U.S., letting the U.S. partners know what is needed in Nigeria, developing channels for, at times, channels for bidirectional learning, which has been really helpful to both our U.S. partners and our international partners.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I am just hearing so many missionary themes here. This working as one and the network, and it's so inspiring to think about the problems we can solve when we put our heads together, when we really share our expertise, share our experience, and then, you don't even know what you can offer until you get into that conversation. That's just so central, so key to missionary thinking. Well, and we have just a minute or two left for this segment, but I'd like to ask, how has this pandemic affected your work? It must have affected it massively, right?
Significantly, yes. One of the biggest changes is for the first time, U.S. healthcare systems experience severe, dangerous shortages. And
we here in the U.S. experienced it, not overseas.
That was a wake-up call. And I think it's developed a stronger sense of empathy and unity between our U.S. partners and our partners in low-resource countries who experience these things every day. So I think that's one big change. The other big change is that our volunteers, so Mission Outreach has a network of volunteers that really, together, they provide the equivalent of about 8 full-time employees. And our volunteers couldn't come to our warehouse. So part of our network, part of our system, our system was incomplete, and we were missing a central part of it. And, we tried to stay in contact with our volunteers, and thankfully they're back with us now. But we really felt that sense of being incomplete. We missed them. We missed their work. We missed their laughter. And again, it emphasized to me how important it is for us to function as a whole.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're not the first person who talked about losing volunteers during this time, for sure. And it isn't just the work that they do, but it's also that energy and the network. You said we're coming together to feel connected. That's a loss, but also a learning experience for all of us, as you said too about our medical system. So, well, it is time for our break. We'll be back to continue our discussion with Georgia Winson of Hospital Sisters Mission Outreach. Stay tuned.
Caring adults make all the difference in the lives of adolescents. Catholic Charities understands this, and our mentorship program provides a free opportunity for youth living in Lake County to spend time, virtually, with volunteers who genuinely care about them. This program is ideal for youths age 9 to 12 who may need support navigating the challenges of childhood and early adolescence. Our amazing volunteers serve as friends and role models who help youth recognize their strengths and empower them to reach their full potential. Catholic Charities conducts a thorough background check on every volunteer, and our program coordinator closely monitors and supports each relationship. Mentoring is a fun after-school program that is totally different from remote learning. Virtual group sessions help youth enjoy fun activities with their peers, too. We're connecting youth with great role models. Join us today. To learn more, call 312-937-3375. That's 312-937-3375.
Hey, it's Timothy Johnston here from Liturgy Training Publications. Over the past few months, I'm sure you've found yourself at home more, whether it's working from home or watching live stream masses on Sunday mornings. As we began adjusting to this at the beginning of the pandemic, one of the things I missed the most was gathering with friends at the parish. That's why we at LTP have created this new virtual gathering series called Living the Sunday Word. We meet virtually on Thursday evenings each week and reflect on the upcoming Sunday readings. And with that, we share stories to help us more fully reflect on the Word of God. I'm inviting each of you to join us, a group of friends meeting virtually from all parts of the country. So visit ltp.org for more information and to register. You won't want to miss this.
And welcome back to Mission Matters Live. I am Megan Mio, coordinator for the Mission Office, and I have with me Georgia Winson, executive director of Hospital Sisters Mission Outreach, a medical support and resource organization based in Springfield, Illinois. We have been discussing the nature of her work, but now I'd like us to talk a little bit more about what goes behind the work of medical missions, like the work she does. And I am now pleased to introduce a second guest who has joined us. We have friend of the show, Father Stan Chu Elo, who is research professor of World Christianity and African Studies in the Catholic Studies Department of DePaul University in Chicago, among many other things. And we're very pleased he's joining our conversation this morning. So good morning, Father Stan.
Good morning, Megan. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. So I mentioned at the top of the show that we as Catholics engage in mission in the context of the Catholic social tradition. And this tradition is made up of principles that motivate and guide us to go out and love our brothers and sisters, both locally and globally. These principles include, this is just the short list, life and dignity of the human person, the call to family and community, human rights and responsibilities, the option for the poor and vulnerable, the dignity of work, solidarity, and care for creation. And so, and there's a lot that goes behind each one of those principles, but just to kind of review them, I wanted to mention each one. Georgia, considering these principles, which ones stand out to you as particularly important for your work?
Well, they all have relevance, but for mission outreach, I think the option for the poor and vulnerable, the dignity of the human person, and solidarity really align most closely with our mission. And for me personally, solidarity has been emerging kind of as a theme, kind of in my own personal spiritual development, but also as a theme for mission outreach. And I'm realizing there's a lot I have misunderstood about solidarity.
Oh, my goodness.
I know.
With all your work.
60 years old, and I'm still learning.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's what I was saying about the social tradition. These terms are just the beginning. They just open up, and there's so many ways that they apply. And I would just mention, I don't think I was even thinking care for creation as the work that you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it has a major impact. And we know that these are interconnected as well, that the option for the poor and vulnerable is connected to care for creation.
But I think one of the reasons that solidarity is kind of emerging in my mind is this whole concept of oneness. Oneness with God, oneness with creation, oneness between all of us as a human, as part of as humanity. And I think what I misunderstood about solidarity is I always thought of it as something we do. We join unions, we act, we advocate. But I'm thinking more now about solidarity as what we are. The idea, not that we become one or that we try and be one. I'm really realizing that God created us as one. And that he's really wanting us to honor that oneness with our actions. And doing some reading, like, Cardinal Bernardine's metaphor of the seamless garment, that really speaks to me, that we are one fabric. And that really comes across in our work at Mission Outreach. I feel that oneness with our brothers and sisters, people I may never meet, but we're one with them. So that's kind of how my thoughts about solidarity have changed somewhat.
It's a different way of thinking about it, that we were already one to begin with, and that we kind of got away from it maybe, and that we're always being drawn back into who we really are, our true nature.
Yeah.
That's very profound. Thank you, Georgia. Father Stan, I'm dying to hear your take on this. How do you understand the Catholic social teachings in your work as both an educator and as a missionary?
Yeah, thank you, Megan. And just continuing where Georgia stopped, the aspect of oneness is that for me, as a Christian, a priest, a teacher, everything goes back to how the Second Vatican Council articulated the foundation of the church and our Christian life, and that is the Holy Trinity, the oneness between God the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. That oneness is forged in love, and the fruit of that love is creation. So there is solidarity, collaboration, mutuality, participation, service, respect, reverence, and above all, friendship within the one triune God. So they work so together. The word, the theological term is perichoresis. There's a network. They dance together. It's a sacred dance that we see at the very heart of the Trinity. Therefore, for me, this is the propelling shaft around which my life revolves. It is the vision through which I look at suffering, pain, brokenness and wounds in the world. It is also the lens through which I understand the ethical choices, the daily choices of accompaniment that we are all invited to do, to make, which is really another word they use to describe this Trinitarian oneness is indwelling. So making a home. So God the Father makes a home with God the Son. The Holy Spirit makes a home in this union, and all of them have created, working together. Creation becomes the home, the, if you like, the burning bush of God's glory. And so when people are suffering, when we see all the wars in the world today, the bombings, the terrorist activities, hatred, racism, inequities, global inequities, health inequities, it bleeds, the heart of God bleeds, because it is a direct affront on what we are, who we are, and God's dream and God's will for the world is that this Trinitarian love, this Trinitarian life continues to be the dynamics and the model that around which the world revolves.
Yeah, is it another take, building on, what we said, conversation with Georgia about, well, we were one to begin with. Well, God is one to begin with, and we're always returning to God and trying to imitate God because we are made in the image of God, So I can see that we're always turning back to look at what is the nature of God, who is God, and how can we come closer to that reality, that being. And I can see it as behind everything that we do, certainly as missionaries, as Christians, people of faith. We just have like a minute or two left, so I don't know if you'll be 2 minutes left that we can answer the next question, but I ask Father Stan so we can hear a little bit more from you. These principles were developed, the Catholic social teaching, by leaders over the course of modern history, and many of them as a response. So the pandemic is an event that certainly is having an impact on how the Church understands who we are in the world. Do you think this pandemic has taught us something new or reinforced something about the Catholic social teachings and tradition, Father Stan?
Yes and no. The Church has always been a witness to human suffering, but not as an eyewitness in that sense, a distant, a spectator has been involved. The Pope has said we have to have the smell of the sheep. The Church has always had boots on the ground. Yeah. The Catholic social teaching, people lived it, and then later, 100 years after, we are reflecting on it. I think what the pandemic has taught us, among many, is that we have new challenges to our Catholic social teaching, because this is a new virus, really. This is the worst pandemic that has ever happened in human history. Yeah. So what it has taught us is that we need to deepen more our solidarity, our understanding of our shared life, and we are a family. So the human arrogance, the pride, the isolationism and alienation that we have seen, nationalism, racism, sexism, these attempts to create silos, to divide, to create walls, that Catholic social teaching faces the challenge of helping us to see that we are together, and not just helping us through theorizing. There's a lot of talk going on. It's about doing it so that those who come after us, reflecting on it, will say, wow, this is maybe another fifth gospel. At a time of national and human crisis of the greatest proportion, that people of faith rose up to write a new script that people will read as a gospel.
Right. Yeah, the gospel is alive. It's not something from 2,000 years ago. It's something that has everything to say about what's going on right now in our world. Thank you. Well, it's time for our break now. So we thank Father Stan for joining us for this segment. We'll have him back at the end of the show. But for now, we thank you for your invaluable input so far. We'll be back to continue our discussion of solidarity and medical mission. Stay with us.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
The Word Made Clear is exactly what its name implies. It's an easy-to-understand explanation of the Word of God, the Gospel. Hello, I'm Father James McElhone, Director of Biblical Formation for the Archdiocese of Chicago. I'd like to invite you to take our free online Bible study program by going to thewordmadeclear.org. Our website offers an audio-based guide to the Gospels of Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Listen to my lectures and follow along with the handouts provided. There are even discussion guides. You can also explore the biblical roots of the Mass. And there are links to a wide variety of biblical sources that will benefit both teachers and students of the sacred scriptures. Just go to wordmadeclear.org to experience our free online Bible study program. Again, it's free at wordmadeclear.org. It's the Word of God. Enjoy.
Catholic Charities Schreiber Center for Human Services is now open in Round Lake. Due to the pandemic, we are limited in the number of in-person programs that we currently can provide. However, a food pantry is open twice a week, and a Wednesday night supper is held with to-go meals every week. A wide range of senior services are now offered as well. If we can assist you or someone you know, please call us at 847-546-5733. That's 847-546-5733. Before, during, and after COVID-19, Catholic Charities is here for you.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM. Every Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., the Archdiocese of Chicago presents programming about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Welcome back to Mission Matters Live. I am Megan Mio, coordinator for the Mission Office, and I have with me Georgia Winson of Hospital Sisters Mission Outreach, President and Executive Director, based in Springfield, Illinois. And now I am pleased to introduce another friend of the show, Sister Mary Paul Asoegwu, a Daughter of Divine Love sister and director of the development ministry for her congregation, which is based locally in Compton, Illinois. Sister Mary Paul's sisters minister here in the Archdiocese of Chicago, as well as many countries around the world, including Jamaica and Haiti, Nigeria, and Kenya, to name just a few. So good morning, and thank you for joining us, Sister Mary Paul. Are you there?
Thank you, Megan, for having me.
Awesome.
Happy to be here.
Great. I'm so glad to have you. So Georgia and I have been discussing the work of mission outreach to recover and distribute medical supplies around the world. And we were joined earlier by Father Stan Chuilo to talk about how medical mission is grounded in the Catholic social tradition, especially the principle of solidarity and oneness. So, Sister Mary Paul, we'd like to hear your thoughts, too, on this topic from your perspective as a religious sister. In your mind, how important is solidarity and oneness when it comes to global mission?
I think it's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
And this morning, when I was reading this gospel, and it came to say that they may be one. John 17:21. I said, that's it. And I was very happy when Georgia talked about oneness, and Father too also talked about oneness.
Yeah.
Because I believe that true solidarity brings that oneness, brings respect, brings justice, brings support, brings equal distribution. It brings about love that impels one to reach out to others and members of the same body, because we are all one.
Yeah.
And as they have been talking about the Catholic social teaching,
yeah.
The principle of solidarity is about recognizing others as our brothers and sisters and actively working for their good. Because in this our connected humanity, we are invited to build relationships, to understand what life is like for others, and especially those who are somehow different from us. So this principle motivates and guides us to go out and love our sisters and our brothers, both locally and globally. So the world now needs solidarity. We need to go about above our parochial and our individualistic and everything, and move towards a broader view of life globally. Take, for example, this project we are talking about. Look, already all those who are involved, and what motivates them. Because the hospital sisters outreach that Georgia is working on, they are not just doing it for doing sake. They have that love of God, that solidarity in their minds to support and help, which is one of the things the Lord wants us to be doing.
Yeah.
Look at Father Stan, all that he is doing, bringing everybody together to see that we help others, to bridge that inequality, to bridge that injustice, to bring that oneness.
Yeah.
And look at you, Megan, too, helping to broadcast through the radio outreach, which involves the mission, too.
Yeah.
And all the universities that are about at the background of what we are doing, the DePaul, our congregation, the Loyola University, and many who are working, and even the team that are working with us, the staff of Georgia, and the group that Father brought together. All these are trying to make this successful. And this is here. Then think of those who are outside there, who are now waiting for this container the containers that we are about to ship.
Yeah.
The dioceses are excited. Our congregations are excited. The patients, if they know about it, they are excited. The staff, they are all excited and looking forward to have this, because it's going to improve the lives of people.
That's going to change people.
So all these are working together in unity, in oneness, for a common purpose with respect to human dignity and the current need for effective and compassionate health care.
Wow.
So in this project, solidarity has become a tool for reducing inequality and social injustice in the world, leading to the so-called sustainable development goals and used for the benefits it can offer, especially in this particular instance. And I must tell you that authentic global mission must focus on making the gospel the good news.
Yeah.
The Catholic Church mission is to carry out and continue the work of Jesus and ambition. It must go beyond pettiness.
Yeah.
So I think this project is important to us, and I think in the sense of global mission, it is actually concentrating on it very well.
Wow. You connected all the dots, Sister Mary Paul, very well. You mentioned we're going to get in a little more detail about this particular project in Nigeria, but I kind of wanted us to talk with the rest of the time we have here in this segment about what's going behind the project that we've got in Nigeria. And so the need is great right now for medical supplies and equipment to save lives in southeast Nigeria. And in fact, it was Sister Mary Paul who made me aware of an upcoming project to equip Nigerian Catholic hospitals to treat COVID patients and protect the caregivers with PPE, personal protective equipment. So we just have a few minutes left in this segment, but Sister Mary Paul, can you tell us about the state of healthcare in Nigeria? How has this pandemic changed everything?
Georgia, in that small document he made, rightly puts Nigeria, falls in the category that he calls, he said, one of those healthcare systems with chronic shortage of supplies and equipment, and paucity of local vendors, and limited or no purchasing power.
Yeah.
And she went out, which I read it and I loved it. That's why I want to share it, because he's talking about the Human Development Index.
Human Development Index, yeah.
Yeah, see, where he said Nigeria was ranked 161 among the 189 countries rated in 2020, and that COVID-19 diagnosis in Nigeria is complicated by the high prevalence of malaria, which is 50% of global burden of disease. Yeah. Additionally, malaria may reduce a person's ability to mount an immune response, leaving them more susceptible to infections and less responsive to vaccine. Yeah. And she said that HPI and related data provides a clear picture of the uphill battle faced by people in Nigeria, including their vulnerability to COVID-19 virus. Yeah. And in that index, you could see that the life expectancy of Nigeria comparing to United States, Nigeria is 54 and U.S. is 79. Mortality with non-communicable disease, we have 870 over 100,000 in Nigeria, while in the United States, it's 353 over 100,000. And when you come to TB, which some people don't even know TB exists, Nigeria has 219 over 100,000, and the United States has only three over 100,000. Yeah. Something with HIV, she has there 1.5 over 100,000, but United States has 0.4 over 100,000.
Sister Mary Paul,
patient ratio, you have 0.4 over 1,000 in Nigeria and 2.6 over 1,000 in the United States.
Sister Mary Paul, I have to ask you to pause there.
I see and ventilators, Nigeria has 200.
Yeah.
And United States has 160,000. So when you look at this, even at the national income per capita of Nigeria, it's too poor. And the people are really suffering.
Yeah. Sister Mary Paul, I have to ask you to pause just because we're running out of time.
Okay.
Sorry to do so, because this is all very important to see, what this situation is in Nigeria that we're trying to address. But it is time for our last break now. I'm sorry, Georgia. We'll maybe hear more from you in the next segment. But we'll be back to continue our discussion about mission outreach in Nigeria through the Equipped for COVID-19 campaign. We'll get into some more details there. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Catholic Charities After Supper Visions program helps guests of our Tuesday night supper program develop their skills as photographers. Unique talent has been discovered as the artists capture Chicago's world-class landmarks and natural settings in new and beautiful ways. On Friday, June 4th at 5 p.m., After Supper Visions will host a free virtual 30-minute program to celebrate all of the artists' achievements. Hear from the artists and see the striking photos that rival those of any art gallery in Chicago. Join us. To RSVP, call 312-655-7932. That's 312-655-7932, or visit AfterSupperVisions.com. At After Supper Visions, we're developing film, talent, and hope.
Hey, it's Timothy Johnston here from Liturgy Training Publications. Over the past few months, I'm sure you've found yourself at home more, whether it's working from home or watching live stream masses on Sunday mornings. As we began adjusting to this at the beginning of the pandemic, one of the things I missed the most was gathering with friends at the parish. That's why we at LTP have created this new virtual gathering series called Living the Sunday Word. We meet virtually on Thursday evenings each week and reflect on the upcoming Sunday readings. And with that, we share stories to help us more fully reflect on the Word of God. I'm inviting each of you to join us, a group of friends meeting virtually from all parts of the country. So visit ltp.org for more information and to register. You won't want to miss this.
Welcome back to Mission Matters Live. I am Megan Mio, coordinator for the Mission Office, and I have with me by phone Georgia Winson of the Hospital Sisters Mission Outreach, a medical support and resource organization. And we are again joined by Father Stan Chu Ilo, research professor of World Christianity and African Studies at DePaul University, Chicago, and Sister Mary Paul Asoegwu, director of the Development Ministry of the Daughters of Divine Love, an international religious congregation of women. Now, before the break, we were discussing the reality of healthcare in Nigeria, and the statistics are breathtaking. They're amazing, especially to compare Nigeria and the United States. But we didn't get a chance to ask Georgia. Give you just a minute or two if you could say a few words, Georgia, about your work with Mission Outreach. You have partners in Nigeria, I'm sure among many places around the world, and that the realities are probably really surprising, even to somebody here in the U.S. What can you tell us about the Mission Outreach partners in Nigeria?
Yeah, one of the things I want to say first about Nigeria is Nigeria has demonstrated the ability to address some major public health issues. So, for instance, the Ebola crisis, Nigeria responded well in trying to contain that. But the problem with Nigeria, and the problem that Nigeria experiences, along with all of the countries we serve, is that they don't have the tools they need. They can do what is right by their people, but they don't always have the tools that they need. And so I'd like to highlight even the vaccine equity piece, which is shocking to me. So the first vaccine was administered in March 21st, and that was more than 3 months after the first vaccine was given here in the U.S. Wow. And think about the lives lost in that 3-month period. Nigeria is predicting by the end of 2021 that they will have the ability to vaccinate 20% of their population. But the Brookings Institute has reported that the U.S., by the end of 2021, will have 1.2 billion doses left over.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that is shocking.
Yeah.
And I think when we talk about this, when we talk about 1.3 billion doses have been administered worldwide so far, but only 0.3% of those in low and middle income countries.
Yeah.
So back to that theme of oneness, this kind of inequity really tears at the fabric of our oneness. Yeah. And it hurts all of us. And I'm so encouraged to hear, that there is a lot of movement. I mean, the Catholic Church is talking about equity, vaccine equity, and healthcare equity. We've been talking about it for years, but there's additional movement in the political front to try and address it. But that's frightening to me that we have that kind of inequity.
Yeah, it should be a wake-up call. It should be a recognition that there's absolutely work to be done here. And I'd like us to talk about a particular project that is dealing maybe not directly with the vaccine question, but certainly with medical supplies and PPE. Yeah. So a group of leaders and representatives of the southeast region of Nigeria came together to talk and pray about this urgent need, in particular in that region. Father Stan and Sister Mary Paul, you are two of those leaders who helped identify the need and develop a multi-phase campaign to raise funds and collect medical supplies to equip 6 Catholic hospitals in Enugu, Imo, and Abia states of Nigeria, home to 12.2 million people. So, Father Stan, can you tell us about what this group of leaders discussed as this campaign came into focus and what ultimately inspired the campaign?
Yeah, the campaign was inspired and is still inspired by the suffering and pain of our people. Mm-hmm. For many of us who grew up in the Southeast, the stories that we see today, the deaths, the despair, and the discouragement are all too familiar. Yeah. So COVID-19 and its many terrible consequences on general outcome of health outcomes, quality of life, social condition, is only one layer, another layer over multiple layers of suffering characterized by corrupt and inefficient political system and the enduring architecture of violence in Nigeria, sadly. In the news, we hear about children, girls being kidnapped from schools, now boys everywhere, universities are being attacked. So in the midst of this kind of failed system, political system, economic system, agricultural system, ecological system, the healthcare is just a reflection of also the decay. Yeah. However, there is one light that shines, and that's the church. Yeah. Wherever you go, in the remotest parts of our country, you will always see a small Catholic clinic, even the nuns running small clinics trying to help people, trying to give hope. So that's how the campaign was born, to reach out through Hospital Sisters Mission Outreach, highly effective organization. I had worked with them before, and so in the midst of this, after a friend of mine who was the Secretary General of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, Father Ralph Mado, after he died from COVID and died because there was no oxygen, there was no ventilator, so he couldn't be helped. Right. Then I found out asking around through the relevant agencies that there's no hospital, Catholic hospital in the whole country that has any kind of emergency response that can help people, even with oxygen and respirators and ventilators. So it's within that then I sought in conversation with Sister Mary Paul and a few other priests who have been involved in trying to say to the darkness, we beg to differ. We knocked at the doors of the Hospital Sisters, and the campaign began.
Yeah, you decided to network, right? Come together and share your gifts. So we have just a few minutes left, so I'm going to need some brief answers, I'm afraid. I'm sorry that our program it limits us somewhat, but Sister Mary Paul, you said a little bit earlier, but what's the intended outcome of this project? Equipping the hospitals, and then what difference is this going to make? How are people going to respond?
Well, the intended outcome, first of all, the need, because as Father Stern was saying, I have had many people who, especially even doctors, who cannot go to the hospital and do anything because they have no equipment and there is nothing for them to use. So therefore, they try to protect themselves. So one of the intended consequences of this is for them to be able to treat their patients, because now they will have what they need in their hands to do their work. And this, we're also hoping to save lives. We're also hoping to be in solidarity to combat this, not only the COVID, but other diseases like malaria, and to continue the mission of Jesus Christ, which is the mission of the church, and to fulfill the mandate of Christ to go to the whole world and proclaim the good news, to share the love of Christ who went about doing good, proclaiming the Father's love, feeding the hungry, healing the sick, giving sight to the blind, and eventually undergoing terrible passion and death, but he resurrected and was able to what we are enjoying now, which is the Easter. So we have real hope that this will help provide the needed help these people need in Nigeria, especially around the health care.
Yeah, you save lives. You'll and give these medical professionals the protection they need and the confidence. And reading the documents preparing for this project, people having to ration the resources, ration oxygen, ration ventilators, making medical professionals have to make those decisions is heart-wrenching. Can't even imagine. So back to Georgia. So the Hospital Sisters Mission Outreach is the expert in this area. We have just a minute left. So if you could say just real quickly about the phases, and then tell us how our listeners could get involved if they want to support this particular project.
Well, absolutely. So phase 1 is really focused on getting PPE to these 6 hospitals in Nigeria. And we are seeking funds to help with the shipping. All of the supplies are donated, and Mission Outreach is donating support to coordinate logistics. But we need, with the pledges we have thus far, we need about $7,800 for phase 1.
That's doable.
And so we ask people to go to our website. It's www.mission-outreach.org. You can donate via our website. You could also call us or mail in a donation. If you have questions, get in touch with me. I'm happy to answer any questions about the campaign. And then phase 2 is really going to provide some equipment, purchase some equipment that Mission Outreach does not have in our warehouses. So we would like to purchase ventilators and some of this more complex equipment and be able to send that to Nigeria. And it's important to note that these things that will be purchased, are building the infrastructure. They're capacity building. They'll be used for COVID, but they'll be used for other things as well. And again, we're seeking donations for that. So that second phase will send PPE, about $150,000 worth again, but it'll also send critical pieces of equipment. So we definitely need help in making this happen. And we need the solidarity to grow. I mean, all of the professionals and the church leaders that Father Stan and Sister Mary Paul brought together, are very energized people. They're working in solidarity, and we need that solidarity to grow with other people to join the campaign.
That's how the mission works. The gospel works. It draws people in. So thank you so much for joining us, Georgia, Father Stan, and Sister Mary Paul. Let the principle of solidarity remind us, no one is safe until everyone is safe. Thank you very much. Don't forget to tune in next month for more Mission Matters Live. Thank you for listening, and remember, always be on mission.